Good afternoon, everybody. So before we get started, I want to do two things, and I'm going to ask you guys for some support. I need at least two people in the back to go outside and round up all the people that's chilling in the hallway. Grab them, yell at them, curse at them, do what you got to do, get them in. And the way in which we'll prepare for that time loss, I want to take some time out and show some appreciation. I want to show appreciation to the NLC staff and the Atlanta chapter for putting this together. So wait, before you clap, could you all please stand up? Everybody, if you are from the Atlanta chapter or if you are NLC staff, could you please stand up? Wait, stay up, stop. Check us out. This right here, like, we have a very important year coming up. We have a very important few months ahead of us. This is our pep rally. All right? It has been very dead in this room today, and we're going to change that. So what I need you all to do, you don't need to clap for me, but I need you all to be as loud as you can for the people that put on this wonderful thing right now. All right. Okay. All right, cool. I was going to move around, but I know that I need to stay stationary for the camera. I did plan to move around, but I'll be in one spot, I promise, and I'll be quick. So the other thing I'm going to ask people to do, I know everybody has their little devices and everybody has their laptops. No, don't close it. It's okay. It's all right. In this day and age, it is the presenter's job to keep your attention. So I'm going to work very hard to do that. So I've put up my Twitter handle and I've put up our hashtag. So tweet as much as you want to, and if it sucks, you can say that. It's all good. Let me know. That's how we get better, right? Because that's what we're here to do. So let me go ahead and get started. My name is Charles Cole III. Senior is dead, and second has bad credit. So let's not confuse those people. I am the third, and I am I am from Oakland, but I did go to the San Francisco chapter. I wanted to go ahead and make that clear. So we're going to talk about why I'm a black progressive, and I promise you, if you're not black, there's still something in this for you. I guarantee you. All right. So I had all my notes and everything set up. We had some technical issues, but we've worked it out, okay? So if you see me looking down, don't yell at me. So one of the reasons that I feel that we're losing in the eyes of the public and a lot of these arguments that we're having and a lot of conversations that we're having is because we've forgotten that one key element. I've heard it mentioned a few times, but I really want to try to drive it home. We've lost the ability to connect with people. We've put ideas up there, which is really important, and those are nice, but everybody doesn't always connect with our ideas. They connect with people. And as we were making jokes about how dumb George W. Bush was, or how he couldn't articulate or say nuclear, he said nuclear, he didn't have time to hear you because he was too busy winning the second term. So if you all will allow me, I want to tell a story. Can I tell a story to you all today? Okay, thank you. I was born in this beautiful city. Can anybody yell out what city that is? Do you know? That is Chicago. I was born in Chicago, but before we get there, before we get to the city that I was born in, we have to discuss the era, because the era was a very important time. And there was a lot of political change in the 80s thanks to one Mr. Ronald Reagan, and as you all may be able to find out throughout the duration of this presentation, I'm still a little bit bitter about it. But the 80s, you know, Ronald Reagan had a very defined platform. And that platform was to undo the crime and the unrest that heroin and drugs did in the 70s by being very tough in the 80s. And there were some other things like Iran-Contra affairs and all things like that that led to a few different things. One of the things that I led to was that guy right there, which is me. It's very dark. I'm not that dark, but it led to that. And the other thing it led to was crack. Well, not that crack, that crack. That's what it led to. And unfortunately, for me and my family, my parents really fell deep into that. And so as a result of that, we moved around a lot, right? So I moved and stayed with my grandmother in another state, which you guys will see very soon. And I want to see if somebody can recognize this place. And if you're from this state, don't give it away, because nobody knows this town. Can anybody name what town what state that town is in? It is. Most of you, you all may know it a little better for this, because we're the champs this year. Yes. There you go. Y'all can be a little louder. Go ahead. We won. It took a long time for us to get back there. Be proud, right? And so, but just to give you an example, because I'm going to tell you a story about my life and about me and how I got to be and think the way in which that I do. I'm very different from the previous speaker that came up. And I want to show you why. Because you need to make a connection with me, not the politics, right? And so to give you an example of how often we moved, I have a little brother and a little sister. My brother's the middle child, so I was born in Chicago. My brother was born in Paducah. My little sister was born in Chicago, and then I ended up back in Paducah. And I was raised by a wonderful lady, and that lady was my grandmother. Her name was Ozetta Hooper. And what she did was she took great care of me, and she took care of me with hardly anything that she had. She was very poor. But one of the things that she did is she made sure that people around her ate. She always took care of folks because she instilled a certain type of duty in me. And we survived off of three things. We survived off of her Social Security because she no longer worked. We survived off of these things. Does any of you guys know what that is? Is that what that is, the Louisiana Purchase Card? I use those a lot. I was ashamed as a kid, but I would take a book of food stamps right now. Like, if you got some, let me know. Because I would definitely use those. And the other thing that she used to help raise me was Paducah Parks and Recs. And that kept me out of trouble. And during the summer, we had a program through our local government that started at 8 o'clock in the morning, where they fed you breakfast and they fed you lunch, and they sent you home around 8 o'clock at night. But that's where I learned how to play basketball and kind of stay out of trouble. And my grandmother was, she was from the South. Like, I went to church. Like, I went to church. You don't, listen, if you have not been in the South, listen, I went to church like every day. But what she did was she introduced me to Jesus. And the Jesus that she introduced me to was one that cared about people, that nurtured people, that felt that we had a duty as a people, regardless of where we were or how we felt about that other person, to take care of them if we were able to. And that's the religion in which I was that I was introduced to. And so that's one of the things that she definitely instilled in me. So the beginning of my progressive values started long before I even knew what that was. So as you see these folks right here, these folks are very representative of my upbringing. So the one thing about my grandmother being so good to me and raising me so well, the unintended consequence of that is that my parents didn't have an incentive to get it together. And so my parents kind of played tag with jail. Like, they were like Clark Kent and Superman. They both were never in at the same time, but one would go in and the other one would come out, right? So that's what these people represent. That's my parents being represented by two little white girls. That's what that is. It's true. I was a very happy child. But as people say in the South, the good Lord called her home in 1992. And it was a very sad moment. But what it did, though, and it happened when it needed to happen. It was very sad. But what it did is it forced my parents to get it together. And at that moment when my grandmother died, they had a collective oh shit moment. This is there. We have to get it together. So what happened is that we ended up, my father took me, my brother, and my sister, and we got on the Greyhound from Paducah all the way to California. It's about 3.5 days on a bus. It's a long time on a bus. How many of y'all get upset when you got to wait in the airport for 2 hours, right? So we was on a bus for a very, very long time, right? But, we ended up making it, right? So we got there, and it's crazy because when we got there, we lived with family. We bounced around, but then we ended up homeless. So, between Oakland and San Francisco, I stood in soup lines. The picture is a little dramatic, but I actually did stand on soup lines and things of that nature as we were growing up, right? But it's all good because what happened is my parents, my dad ended up getting in trouble. Both my parents ended up getting in trouble in California. And the difference between California and Kentucky is that when we got to Oakland and they got in trouble, the judge, instead of just putting them in jail for the transgressions that they may have had, they forced them to go to rehab. And so my mother went to rehab, and because the way healthcare is out here, and it was very expensive, well, not out here, I'm not in California, but the way healthcare is in California is very expensive. So I went to all of her NA meetings with her, which is great. I'm glad that I got to get that experience because I got to really get a chance to understand people and how close all of us are, how many paychecks all of us are from living in a nice house to being on the streets, or being overwhelmed with the things that's going on in our lives to using drugs, right? So I got, at an early age, I really got this strong sense of compassion for people, while at the same time responsibility. And it was good for me. So 54th and Gaskill is where I grew up in Oakland. That is home to me. I still love that place, and everything that I do in some kind of way revolves around helping the people that's from that place. So these are the chips that my mother would receive as she did it. And what I learned is that my mother wasn't asking for a favor. She wasn't asking for people to take care of her. What she wanted is that she just wanted an equal opportunity. Because once she did get cleaned up and she changed her life around, both her and my parents became great citizens of our country, right? But they needed that opportunity. They needed that chance. Because the way in which we punish people now, we punish addicts now, what it does is makes them better criminals, right? And so when my mother was able to go through that process and get those chips, she found out that she had value and that she had worth. And that's one of the, what I'm doing is building up the way in which I got to my values, right? So then I ended up going to high school. This is the mascot, the symbol for Emory High School. And I had a good run. I graduated pretty high in my class. I won, I was very well represented in the world of debate. I won state in California my junior year. And I also played basketball. Basketball is my favorite. I like basketball more than I like people. So don't feel bad. I like you people. I just like basketball that much more. You understand? So I might show another clip of Kentucky winning that championship or the Bulls winning. See, I did that on purpose. I know that anytime I need somebody to participate, I just say Kentucky, do it again. And it does it. When you present, you should put people in the crowd at various places and do stuff like that. But I did play ball. And listen, if you can't find me, you are not racist. It's okay. We kind of do look alike. I was looking and I couldn't find myself at one point, right? So let me help you out. There I go. That's me, all right? And don't get it twisted. I was like the captain. I could ball. That was 60 pounds ago, but I was good. I made it to being ranked in California as far as point guards go. But then that time came where I graduated. I turned down a few basketball scholarships, and I needed to go to college. My parents, even though they were doing better, they still couldn't necessarily help me get into school. So I had to call on good old Uncle Sam once more to make sure that I could get into college. And I used the Pell Grants and all the things that my state offered. I took advantage of everything that they offered on top of working full-time and taking 20 units so I could finish in that 4-year span. I have a strong commitment to education, and I didn't stop at the BA. I went on, I got my MSW, and then I was a social worker for a while, and while I was a social worker, I went back to school and got my MPA in public administration because I felt that was the key for me to not duplicate or replicate the things in which that I saw my parents do. Now, the only woman in my life that can make me cry is Sally Mae, but I feel that it's very much worth it. No, listen, she breaks me down. Listen, that lady, she hurts my feelings every month. I'm telling you, I cry like a baby when I look at all those zeros that I have to take out, right? So, but what I did is during that time, this is the mantra in which I started to live my life by. And it's very true. And I think it's true of our party, and it's true of our progressive movement. We need to really understand this. And for those that might not be able to see it too well, it says there's always going to be somebody smarter, richer, stronger, faster, whatever. Throw it in there, whatever you need to make it work for you. But there's never a reason to be outworked. And over the last few years and over the last few elections, those toss-up elections that we've won, we were outworked. We were outsmarted and we were outworked. And there's no excuse for that. You can blame the populace on that. You can blame that on a whole bunch of things. And the thing that we never do, the way in which we need to do, is we never look inward. And there was an opportunity for us to look inward in a few of these panels, and I feel like we missed a few of those opportunities, right? Like, we have to look inward and understand who it is that we're talking to and the way in which we frame the issues that we frame. So I need some crowd participation really briefly, and I'll let you all go soon, okay? I need somebody that lives in a state by water, so California, New York, or somebody like that. I need one of those people to stand up, and I need somebody that lives in a state nowhere near water to stand up, because I need the both of you to tell me briefly, in 10 seconds, what is a progressive? Okay. Where are you from? New York. Where are you from? Y'all did not fall. Okay. So all right. So those. Well, I know we're pressed for time, so I don't want to wait. I'll move through it. But basically, a progressive on the West Coast is very different from a progressive here in the South. And the beauty of having to move so far, you have to find the good in every situation. All right. God does things for a reason. Well, I believe that. And living in the Midwest, the South, and San Francisco, Oakland, Bay Area, which is the bubble. Listen, if you live in the Bay, it's the bubble, okay? You have to really understand that the values in which people hold and the way you talk to them and the issues that you connect with, they're seen very differently. There are progressives in the South that love guns. It happens. It happens. And in the bubble, we have a very distinct view of what liberty is and what righteousness is, right? So when we talk, let me go back. Let me stay here for a second. When you're talking to somebody, the reason why people think we're pompous, the reason why people think that we're elitist, even though I'm broke as hell, the reason why people think those things about us is because we take the conversation way up here when the average person lives right here. So I have a lot of people that I trust in this organization that have mentored me and that have helped me. And I need a friend of mine, Mike, to speak up really quick. Mike, if you had to look across the nation, how many people have college degrees in this nation? What percentage? 27% of people, right? But we are okay winning on this moral or this intellectual high ground. When you start talking tax reform to people, we continuously use terms that nobody likes. We liberals. I wouldn't say we liberals, but we're progressives over here, right? We want people to pay their fair share in taxes. But it doesn't matter in which way you talk about taxes, you're talking about taxes. We all say what we want. You get that check and you see a third gone, you're like, damn, like it bothers you. And you have to understand that we understand what the taxes are used for. So you have to talk to people, why do we want these taxes up? Don't even talk about taxes. What is it that we want, right? And let's throw out I want to hear you guys throw out some values. What do we want as we want equal marriage? Somebody throw something out there. Equality of education. What else? We want an infrastructure. What do you mean by infrastructure? So, and the government should help out with that, right? We want that type of support. When you sit down with somebody that's not in your direct circle of influence of friends, you can't talk taxes. You can't talk about, we can't necessarily use terms like infrastructure. I mean, that's a conversation we have in this room. You will get your ass kicked out there having that conversation, and we have. This is what we simply want, right? This is what it boils down to. This is what I want. I want the same opportunity for the poor kid from the slums as the kid that lives in a palace. Because all life is precious. Whether they're born in a red state, a blue state, whether they're poor, whether they're rich, whether they have liberal Democratic parents or conservative Republican parents, all life is valuable. And one thing that put that out there for me is the recent issue that happened, the tragedy that happened in Colorado. That we're still talking about it. We still want to know what was going on in this kid's head when he went in and shot all these people. I don't care what's going on. He was crazy. But people are talking about it and martyring this guy like he wants that. That's why he did it. Memorial Day weekend in my hometown of Chicago, 40 people were murdered in that weekend. Urban people. How much attention did that get? How much? These are the things that we're facing. Because when you look deeper and cut down to the surface, like it's tragic in both of those situations, in those circumstances. But we value lives of people differently. We value middle class, high class life more than we value poor life. I haven't heard anybody up here say poor. I haven't heard anybody up here say duty. And I haven't heard anybody over this weekend say sacrifice. So as I wrap up, I mean, these aren't just necessarily the reasons why I'm a black progressive, a college grad, political activist. Honestly, none of those labels matter. Stop limiting yourself to labels. People work very hard so you don't have to live under labels. Because I'm a progressive here, but when I go back home, I'm not that progressive. When I'm talking to my staff of millennials, I'm a millennial myself, but when I'm talking to a 23-year-old that feels that they're entitled to start at $50,000 a year and want to tell me how they want to work, that's an issue. I'm not progressive. I'm the devil. No, you need to work. Somebody said something about internships yesterday. Yes, internships are great because that means you're on the move of upward mobility. That's what that means. Talk about what you need to discuss. Stop worrying about labels and stop arguing the issue. When you talk to people, they need to know who you are. So hopefully you all got a better glimpse of who I am and why I believe what I believe. I don't have to leave with a tagline. But all those things that I mentioned is not why I'm a Democrat or any of that stuff. It's why I'm me. So thank you all for your time. My information is up there. And if there are any questions, we have time, I'll definitely take it.